I should perhaps at the beginning of Masses have said a very special welcome to any of you who happen to be Irish. Your great day today, if there are any here. And it's amazing to think that under St. Patrick's patronage, what a lot the Irish race has accomplished throughout the world, not the least in the English-speaking world. For a time, I was privileged to exercise my priesthood out in Australia. Nearly every single secular priest there had some Irish background. I'm told in the old days, the Australian bishops used to visit the seminaries in Ireland and poach candidates to go out and work over there. Despite all kinds of secular pressures in the last 2 decades or so, the strength of Irish Catholicism is still evident, not just in Ireland itself, so many other regions where dedicated Irish priests, religious and lay folk, form a vital part of the community. I think there must be something about the outgoing, adventurous Irish spirit that lends itself to great missionary work. Very appropriately, of course, since their great patron, St. Patrick, is himself a noted missionary. The Gospel we just heard recalls the very beginning of the missionary activity of the Church, where Jesus himself appoints those who were to prepare the ground before his own arrival on mission. And these 72 were to be restless, always ready to move on, never becoming entrenched, comfortable, too much at home. St. Patrick's own life was one without real roots. Enslaved as a boy in Britain, taken captive to Ireland, and there are dramatic tales of his escape to freedom, his return to his native land, and then the insistent voice of the Irish pleading him to return and teach them the faith. After his ordination as priest and then bishop, Patrick moved around constantly, proclaiming the truths of Christ, the hope of salvation to anyone who would listen. And what motivated Patrick and filled him with energy was this sense of vocation, echoing the words of God recounted by the prophet Jeremiah. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. In all his wanderings, Patrick often did not know where he would be arriving next, but he never lacked a sense of direction. He kept his eyes firmly fixed on the goal. His sense of vocation, as with so many of the great missionaries in our Christian history, carried with it an orientation towards heaven. Yes, we live in this world with all its preoccupations, its joys, and its sufferings, but our true home is in heaven, and towards that we are journeying. With that goal, the uncertainties of this earthly journey seem like trivial anxieties. It's interesting, isn't it, that Patrick's feast day always falls within the season of Lent, a season which should help us to strip away undue attachments to worldly security. Now, of course, there's a degree of stewardship demanded of us in planning for the future, for our families and dependents, insurance policies to ensure that when we die we don't leave others worse off materially. But too often we become obsessed by the need to plan in detail the next step in a worldly plan, a promotion, a house move, another item in our collection. And so we become stressed and unnerved and insecure if our plans, our prospects aren't clear. Today, as we contemplate St. Patrick, perhaps we should pray to him to ask him to help us to discover that sense of God's providence which filled his life. May we learn from Patrick to make our journey through this life to heaven the priority, and see all other planning in relation to that. And may the patron saint of Ireland pray for peace and harmony in that land, which has given so much to the Catholic Church.